Hey everybody, this is Christy and this is Gina. And
Hello.
we are from the Freedom Exchange. Let me move this button right here, put this down a little bit. Allison, as we've said before, is she has her business going on and she's has a little bit of let's see, fires to put out. So luckily Gina's here with us. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Chrissy. And I just want to tell Allison to put your fires out and
Yeah.
come back soon.
So I just wanted to talk for a minute to tell everybody why Gina is so special to me. Gina is somebody that when I was in prison, I reached out to somebody who was living in Ashland, Oregon, and I said, hey, I don't know if you know where I've been for the last several years, but I need a mentor when I get out. I need a woman. And he's like, I have the perfect person. So that was a big step for me to even ask. And the fact that you said yes was great. And so it's been over 5 years now.
Yes.
You know, someone walks you through like, holy crap, what's happening? What are these emotions?
Yes.
And
And feelings.
The feelings. And she would say, you wouldn't tell yourself not to laugh, would you? Crying is like laughter.
Yes, it
Remember
is.
that?
It's just another emotion.
Yes, and I tell people that, and they're like, oh, please. I said, I know. That's what I said when you said that to me.
It's true. It's just another feeling.
Yeah.
Feelings don't kill you.
Feelings don't kill you. Isn't that nice? Especially when you're this time, I see the growth in that.
yeah.
Before it was like, oh God, I'm going to trust you.
Oh,
I don't think you're telling the truth, but you seem like, you know what you're doing. And so I just trusted you with that.
and I love you for that, Chris. We just trust the process, put one foot in front of the other, and great things happen.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And every time we get together, it's like, it lasts a long time, and we're always. It's like when I'm done talking to you, it's like, okay, let's go. I can take on the world, and I can't wait to do the 100 million things that we
Yes.
said we're gonna do. We have a lot of really big plans too.
Yes, and I think that's the beauty of being who we are and having a connection with someone like we have our connection,
Yeah.
that we can motivate each other and hold each other up and shake each other off and put ourselves back in the race.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Everyone needs to
Thank
have a
you.
friend like Gina. I hope you do have a friend like Gina someday in your life. So, okay, so
Thanks,
we have an
Chris.
amazing guest named Jordana Goldlist, and I'll tell you guys about her in a minute. But first, if you guys have never been on this show, this is the Freedom Exchange Project, where the reason we started this is so that we could squash stigma, we could elevate voices of people that maybe you have never heard of, so you know what people in prison are really like, and people that are fighting for others. So we get to meet amazing people from all over the country, and so it's really a pleasure to share it with everybody here. And so our next guest is on Jordana. So I'm gonna pretend I'm Allison
Yes.
here, and I'm gonna admit her.
Yes. Welcome. There you are.
Hi,
Welcome.
Jordana.
Hi, how you doing?
Good, thank you. We had a
Good.
little technical thing for a second, but luckily we're in a studio, so someone can help us out. So
Yes.
thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So you're our first guest from Canada, and we love meeting people from all over the country. But I just want to say that it's social media sometimes has a bad rap, and yes, there's good and bad of everything. We talk about the duality, but really social media for me, since I got out of prison, I took about a year and a half off before I jumped into it. I didn't really want everyone to know where I'd been yet, and to answer questions. But really, like when I saw you on Instagram, it's like, when you flip back, you're like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I love what she's doing. And then as I see you more, I'm like, okay, she's my person. I have to get her on the show. So thank you for being on here.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.
So Jordana is a defense attorney.
Yes.
And you help people that with all different kinds of criminal cases. And I love how you talk about that each person, it doesn't matter who they are, what crime, you give them the same attention and respect that they deserve. And I'm sure you don't see that all the time when you're watching other attorneys with their cases. Is that right? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I don't take on all cases. I have a very specific focus. So my practice is mostly dealing with people charged with homicide offenses, drug trafficking offenses, and firearm offenses. So I really specialize in those three areas of criminal law. So I don't take on everything and anyone, but you're certainly correct that no matter what someone is charged in with, as long as it's within my wheelhouse,
Yeah.
they get the same level of respect and attention they deserve.
That's amazing because I'm sure you see different people different attorneys who, you wonder if they're selling someone out for a plea bargain or to jump over to another case. And you really, if you're the client, you don't have a lot to say about that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think when you explain it to clients, like, it's funny you bring that up. I had a client call me today and wanted me to do a trial that's scheduled 2 months out. I'm booking a year and a half out. So there's no way that I can accommodate a trial in the next 2 months. And I told him that. He said, well, I don't care what I have to pay you. And I said, why would I do that to the client I have already scheduled in 2 months' time, regardless of payment? Like, imagine you were that client sitting in jail and I'm bumping your case for someone else who wants to offer me more money. It's pretty horrible. And when I explained it to him, he said, you know what, you're right. I appreciate that. I respect that. But you're right. I think there's a lot of lawyers who would have said, oh, okay, you're going to pay me more than this guy can sit in jail, an extra year waiting.
Yeah.
I always think about what I would want if I were the client. And that's sort of the shoes I put myself in when I'm figuring out how to approach a particular situation. What would I want the lawyer to do if I was the person charged?
And that's why we love her right off the jump. That's exactly why.
I just wanted to chime in, Jordana, when I saw your TED Talk and I was just listening to you. Chris told me about you and I was like, oh, I have got to listen to this. So I think I listened to it about 6 or 7 or 10 times. And I was really taken with you because I am going to applaud you for your integrity. You don't see that so many times in life doing what you do. You see more of that, the attorney that you just mentioned. Oh, I'm going to go take this money and good luck, I'll get to you when I get to you. And I really appreciate your truth just by saying that the way things are structured, the system is working the way that people want it to work. And so many times I've heard people go, how did that happen? What's going on? I don't believe. No, it's working.
Yeah.
That's the way it's set up to do what what they wanted to do. And by you just speaking your truth and just ripping the Band-Aid off, girl, and just telling people like it is, I was just like, yes.
Right.
So I wish I could, I don't know, clone you.
I know, it's true. It's true. And just on that note, I was thinking a little bit off topic, but so when we talk about prison reform, is it people reform or it's like, are we like, I mean, I don't want to be a naysayer because I'm a prison reform person, but are we able to do anything, do you think, in the bigger scale?
I mean, are we going to change the system? No.
Right.
Will we hopefully change the minds of enough people that the system will eventually change? I hope so.
Yes.
Because I think the problem that still permeates society is that, people are raised to think there's good and bad, black and white, right and wrong. We are taught to live in a world of dualities. And so the average person who has absolutely no connection whatsoever to the criminal justice system thinks that the people who are in jail are just bad people.
Absolutely.
Right? And so that's the thinking that we need to interrupt. And if we can interrupt that thinking enough, then the system will change. But there needs to be at least a tipping point where people understand that the vast majority of people in jail are not bad people. They're people who made the wrong decision at a particular point in their life that in that moment they thought was either the only possibility for them or was just the best of, you know, a series of poor choices available to them. So I think,
So true.
yeah, and I think that most people don't recognize that. The average person who has never, you know, been arrested or had a loved one arrested doesn't see that side of what is, and they just assume that what they're seeing on TV is accurate when, you know, we all know it's far from the truth.
Yeah, and that's why a lot of the people that watch our show will be like, "What? I had no idea." Like we're
Right.
hand picking, you know, special people, but we're not. It's the way it is in there. So I want to kind of backtrack a little bit about, I want you to tell our audience a little bit about who 12-year-old Jordana was.
Oh.
I bet she was cute.
I don't know how cute I was. No, 12-year-old me was an anomaly. I was definitely a massive contradiction. So on the one hand, I was a straight A student. I was an athlete. I was on the basketball team, volleyball team, baseball team. I had lots of friends. I was, you know, invited to all the parties, and, you know, I fit in sort of superficially. So on the outside, someone who just sort of glanced at me would think that I was just like that normal suburban girl. But I had a darkness inside me, and at 12 years old, I started cutting myself. I started drinking alcohol. I started self-medicating through drugs. And I had, you know, a lot of inner conflict that I had to contend with, and I didn't know how. And so I started engaging in some very serious negative behaviors, all of which, you know, were pointed inward. So, you know, I wasn't out looking for fights or harming other people. It was all self-destructive behavior, but it started at 12 and really, you know, exploded over the next few years.
And it seems like for women, we always seem to go inward so easy. Like, what's wrong
Yeah.
with me? What's wrong
Yeah,
with
it
us?
must be me.
It must be me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I look at that 12-year-old you, and then I look at you now, and just kind of fast forwarding, moving from one place to the other. How did you do that? And who was your hero in your life that encouraged you to, yes, I can? Did you have that?
I absolutely had that. I mean, so it's now been 30 years. So I'm 40, I'm at the tail end of 42, actually. So in the last 30 years, it was certainly, I didn't go from, you know, 12-year-old me to accomplished lawyer. I went really far down first. So, you know, from 12-year-old me, that behavior escalated. By 14 years old, I was institutionalized. I spent, you know, 30 days in a crisis unit, followed by 18 months in a group home, also interrupted by stints in crisis units, and then came out of the group home system, sent back to live with my mom, with them believing I was cured because I was no longer cutting myself and I had stopped running away. But I had slowly developed a drug addiction or a drug dependency for sure that took hold as soon as I got back home. And so by 16 years old, I was an absolute mess. I had started smoking crack. I started missing school. I started getting arrested. My mom, who adored me to no end, didn't know what to do with me, and so thought maybe tough love would work. So she started kicking me out of the house. I started selling drugs to be able to pay my friends' parents so that I could crash on their couch while still maintaining straight A's in school and trying to stay on the basketball team. That didn't last very long.
On the basketball team.
I tried to hold it all together, and I just couldn't. By 17 years old, my whole life had fallen apart. I left home, I left school, I was on the streets for 2 years. And after suffering a near fatal overdose just before my 19th birthday, I decided that I really needed to start making some changes. It took a few months, but eventually got myself into a 6-month rehab program. And after I finished completing that, my mom allowed me to come back home. You know, you talk about a hero, is definitely my mom. That one did not let me go, but needed to find a balance for her own sanity. So
Yeah.
while I was in the throes of, serious, serious drug addiction, I couldn't stay with her, but I could always go back to her. It was this sort of delicate balance. And she always said, as soon as you've gone to rehab and you quit using drugs, you're going to come home. So I always knew that I had that safety net, and thank God. I think that's the difference between me and the friends that I was using with, because the people I was on the street with now, I mean, they're dead, they're in jail, they're in and out of jail, they're still using, now they're all addicted to fentanyl. They're in rough shape. They have not come out of that life still 30 years later. So I definitely think that my mom was the hero in that. Once I got into university, it was still a bit of a roller coaster. I still, was up and down with drug use, nowhere near what it was on the street. And then I got my acceptance into law school. And that's when I really had to make a choice. What life do I want to live? And that was really the breaking ground for me. So I was 25 years old, acceptance into Osgoode Hall Law School, which is basically the Yale of Canada, here giving me, a chance, and had just relapsed on cocaine. And I really was at this serious fork in the road. And so I threw it all in. I said, if I'm going to do law school, let's do it. And it'll be, 18 years that I've been sober next month.
Wow. That's so amazing.
Congratulations. That was a journey.
Yes.
Yeah,
Isn't
that was a journey.
But I think the roller coaster is important, because we don't often talk about that. We talk about, oh, you get clean and that's it. You just head in one direction. And I think there's a serious misconception out there for people to think that there's this sort of stopping grounds and it's a clear cut. And I think for most people it isn't. And that, the struggle in that is also as important as the breaking point.
Yes, I love that. I love your transparency in your story, to let people know that there was a roller coaster and you came through, and looking at that fork in the road and making that choice. Do I go left or do I go right? And that took some real courage, and to something that Christy just said, how we always take it out on ourselves. Women will do that a lot. And also, I believe we can find our inner strength sometime in ourselves to be able to make that decision. And I'm just grateful you did. And that's one of the gifts sobriety can give us. And, I'm so glad that you had your mom there.
Yeah.
Because I think it's important for all of us to have a hero. And sometimes we get more than one. And you can be someone's hero, too. I'm sure you are already.
Yeah, well, I know she already is here in Medford, Oregon, because there's a girl who comes to the place that I work that is sober now, and she has a couple kids, and we got her into college, and she said she wanted to be a drug and alcohol counselor, and I let that be for a minute, and I said, well, if you could do anything, in the whole world, money were no object, what would you do? She's like, well, I would really be a great family law attorney. I said, let you see this girl. Look at her up. I said, here's your girl. She's like, no way. And she called me. It was the next morning. I got a text, and she just said, I changed my major. I was like, yes. And it's sharing our journey.
Yeah.
A lot of times the most perceived shameful experiences are the things that's really going to connect us to the rest of humanity, and the fact that you had your mom was this probably core foundation to say, well, I could go this way or this way. And maybe you had that tether to your mom a little bit, like I know that I did with mine. So if I didn't have that tether, if I was just out there in the world, you can maybe think you can do both, or just say, it's not worth it. It's hard to choose to go to law school even completely sober without that journey is a difficult path. And I like when you talked earlier about that you got expelled from high school, but then you're like, no, you're not doing that to me. Will you tell that story? It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, I refuse to let anyone kick me out.
I love it. Will you tell the story? What happened?
Yeah, I got, so I was arrested on school property. I got caught, it was stupid. I was selling dime bags of marijuana just to pay my friend's dad to let me sleep on the couch. So, it wasn't some big enterprise that I was running. I was 16 years old. My friend's dad said, you can, stay here, but I need $10 a night and I'll feed you dinner and I'll feed you breakfast and you'll have somewhere safe to sleep. And I thought, great. So yeah, I was just selling to be able to pay him and feed my own habit. And, anyways, I got caught right on school property. I think a teacher or one of the vice principals looked over and there I was just selling to some grade 9 kid. And they called the police, and the same cop that had arrested me 3 months earlier, he showed up again, so excited, so proud of himself, like he did something. Yeah, no, like so excited.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, you didn't get me. School did. Like,
yeah. And I'm a 16-year-old kid,
Yeah, you didn't do anything. Anyway, so slapped the cuffs on me, wanted to make a scene, so walked me outside in handcuffs. Again, like no weapons. You didn't need to do that. I wasn't running away. You could have taken me out proper, but didn't. I spent, they took me to jail. I spent 4 days in solitary confinement as a 16-year-old
Isn't
kid.
that crazy?
With no criminal record for just some dime bags of marijuana. They even charged me with proceeds of crime for like $40. Like it was honestly ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. It is.
Completely. Anyways, so yeah, as soon as I was released, at the time, the York Region Board of Education, which was the board that I was under, had a zero tolerance policy for drug trafficking. So if you were found to be trafficking on school property, you were expelled from the entire school board. So it wasn't even just my particular school, it was anything in the jurisdiction. So I was a 16-year-old kid who was a straight A student. Like when I went to class, I did well. It was just getting there. So they expelled me automatically. So I fought the expulsion by myself. They said, if you want to hire a lawyer, I was like, I'm not hiring a lawyer. I'm going to represent myself.
Yeah. Have you seen me? I'll take care of it.
Go in front of the school board and argue my case and argue why I shouldn't be expelled from the entire school board. And I was successful. They agreed with my argument and they said, you're right, we're only going to expel you from this school. You can go to a different school within the board. I said, great. So that September, I started fresh at a brand new school. And 6 months later, I dropped out because I didn't want to be there anyway. I just needed to prove a point that you can.
There you go. Prove your point. I love that.
That's it.
I love that. So, and you were in solitary for 4 days at 16 years old. That's, I mean, I know we passed by that quickly, but solitary is a big deal for a 16-year-old by herself for 4 days. Yeah. What was that like?
I think if I hadn't already endured like psychiatric system, it would have really messed me up. But I had already spent, 30 days at a crisis unit. So I had already been through strip searches. I had already been deprived of my liberty. I had already been through, similar experiences of being locked in a room by myself, not allowed to come out, giving me the opportunity to eat when the staff felt like it. I had been restrained and medicated by staff members before. So going into solitary confinement wasn't such a shock to me. I was surprised that I was being treated that way since I had no criminal record, non-violent offender. There was no sort of precursor to suggest that I should have been in solitary confinement. But, in the end, it was just another small room. I remember being all gray and metal, which was different from, psychiatric whiteness. Everything was white for whatever reason in psychiatric system. Like white rooms, padded, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
And so this was gray and metal. And I remember, I can picture the way that it looked. They had me in a fireproof dress as though I could have lit anything on fire after my strip search.
Isn't that horrible?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is when you think about the extent they went for someone like me. And I mean, you can't tell because I'm sitting here, but I'm 5'2", right. And so I'm small. And at the time, if I weighed 100 pounds, it would have been a lot. So we're talking this small girl at 16 years old comes in with no weapons, no contraband whatsoever. You've stripped me of my clothes. You've made me squat and cough. I'm not carrying anything. What is the point of the dress that I can't light on fire? So the whole system was just all about humiliation and degradation. That's
Yeah.
really what it's about. Let's strip you of your humanity just a little bit more,
Yeah.
so you know who's in charge.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what
exactly
it
it.
is.
You know, that just blows me away because Jordana, I think so many people, and Chris has shared stories with me, and so many people are clueless to what happens to individuals. And here you are, a child, no record, not threatening to anyone, and it's just like one size fits all. You're here, so I'm going to throw you in here. I'm going to demean you. I'm going to take away your humanity, and you'll sit here until I get back.
Yeah.
And I don't think that people are really aware of what goes on for any form of incarceration at any age. It just blows me away, and that's one great reason I'm grateful that you're here, and that Allison and Chris do what they do, because people need to be informed and educated. Because if you don't know, then you don't know, and you can't put a name or stop a culture or talk about how this really happens.
Well, yeah, especially as a straight A student and someone, in sports, it's like, did anyone say, wait, hold up. Can we go, to the mountains or go to the beach for the weekend? And can we just, I mean, that's what I would do, is just say, can we just chit chat for a little bit? Let's talk about some real shit. I don't know if you would have talked about stuff. What do you think? If say I was older, well, I am older than you, and I said, come on, let's go to the beach and let's just talk. What's going on? Or not even really say about what's going on, just listen to things that you wanted to talk about. Would that have had any effect?
Yeah,
I'm
at
always
that
wondering
age.
about that.
I'm not sure. It
Yeah.
might have. It might have. I can't really say. I know that throwing me in solitary confinement wasn't going to help.
Right. No.
Certainly that didn't make me more compliant. That
No.
didn't, make me want to follow your rules better. That's for sure.
It's the opposite of that, actually.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
The fallout from that. So once I got out, my mom came and bailed me out. She wanted to teach me a lesson by leaving me in jail, for the weekend. So 4 days later, I was dragged back into court, and there she was, ready to sign the paperwork needed for my release. And then I was sent to court-ordered rehab, where I met, even better drug dealers than I had.
Exactly.
So, the system isn't working. I've been saying that for a long time. And when I say it's not working to help people,
Right.
but it's not designed to, right? It's
Right.
designed to trap people. And so in that sense, it's very much working. And
Yeah.
that's the disconnect that I see between people who actually have encountered the system and those who know nothing about it. Right?
Exactly.
When they hear these stories, they think it's broken. And when we explain, no, it's working as it was designed to, there's a different appreciation.
Exactly. They get it then, because you're right. They don't know.
Yeah, well, especially because no one wants to think they live in a country where they do that to a 16-year-old girl. They think, oh, it must have been something and fill in the blank. But it's like, no, that's not what it is. I talk about prison being trauma hospitals. That's pretty much when I got in there, I was like, holy crap. I had no idea, because I had certain biases about what I thought people in prison were like, and it was not, I was completely wrong, and that's kind of why we do this. So you going through all of that and then becoming a lawyer. So do you remember your first case?
Yeah.
And can you tell us about it? I would have loved to have seen that. Was it scary?
My first case was for a woman who was charged with importing 0.5 kilo of cocaine into Canada. That was my very first case. We got along so well. I knew that from the outset, I was going to treat clients the way I would want to be treated. So from day one, including up till now, I never ask someone if they did it. I don't ask someone why they did it. That doesn't matter. I ask the questions I need to defend the case. And as we go through the process, maybe as I get to know someone and trust is built, and I have questions, surrounding the why, that might factor in later. And so it was the same with her. I didn't ask why. I didn't ask what happened. I didn't, tell me how this came about. No, let's defend. And at the end of it, I asked the why. And the response I got was so heartbreaking.
Mm.
She was a grandmother who looked after her entire family, her kids, grandkids, and she told me that she had a choice between paying the rent and keeping the lights on. And someone came and presented her with the opportunity to bring a package back from Jamaica for $10,000. And she took it so that she could do both, pay the rent and keep the lights on for her family. And I thought, wow, what a world we live in when you can bring back, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of drugs and face a serious prison sentence for $10,000. Like the fact that, and it happens often here in Canada, that women are used as mules for very, very little money, and it's always targeted to women who are in situations of impoverishment.
Yes.
And it's frightening. It's frightening. And that stayed with me because that was a side that I hadn't experienced. And in all of my drug use, it was more from using level. And obviously, like, I knew the dealers and, it was more like the fast life side of things.
Yes.
Didn't necessarily see that side of it. And that was a huge eye opener for me. How, women, especially who are coming from situations of impoverishment, are targeted and used in this system as pawns. And that lesson stayed with me, throughout my entire career and still does to this day.
Yes, it does. It sounds like it's staying with you. And I'm pretty sure that all of the other, you probably learn and grow as you have more clients and take on more experiences.
Oh, of course, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
But I still keep the core values. I think that for me is really important. I've never lost that. My practice is more about connection. I left a big firm because I wanted to make sure that I could keep that, one-to-one relationship with the client. So I've never let my practice get so big that I lose track of the client as a person. That for me is really important.
Yes, I totally get that from you, that one-on-one, that personal, because that's what it's all about. And I'm sure that anyone who gets you as their attorney is really a lucky person.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, because as you're speaking, I'm thinking about those times. It makes me emotional when it's like, you're like, holy crap, where am I? You're like in this, you're in this cell, you're far away from home. And then you're getting told that you will be facing 20 years and you better tell. And you've never experienced anything. So you're like, well, I don't want to tell, and you're getting yelled at from your attorney and then from your family because they say, if you don't tell, then they're going to tell and then you're going to get the 20 years. And so you're trying to make sense of this whole new world you're just thrust into. And yeah, I committed a crime and punishment and all of that. I get that. But to be like, once the doors close, you are isolated from the world. Like, people don't realize, even you're like, once you're sentenced, you're isolated from even the judge. All of a sudden you're in this prison. You're like, wait, I'm not supposed to be here. And they look at you like, okay, like, try to get out. I was like, wait, I'm supposed to be in the camp of California. And here I am in a maximum security prison in Texas. That seems crazy, but you're cut off from everybody. So I can just imagine someone coming to you would be a whole different feeling versus, with all the shame and trying to explain yourself and trying to be like, well, I'm really not this horrible, god-awful, evil person, and really trusting someone like you to tell me what I should really do, or even like getting out on pretrial and someone saying, okay, now you got to do well. It's like, well, I've been addicted for several years and now you're throwing me out on this pretrial, and when no one's even addressed, hey, how are you feeling? Like, are you okay? Like, and it's just a lot of that people don't realize that goes on in prison with women, especially. Women increase has gone up 700% in the last several years. Not because they're a more horrible people. It's because they scoop it up, the people that are, like you said, as a mule or given a ride or writing a note, all of that. And right now we have people in prison still for life for pot. Well, what about there in Canada? Is there still people in prison for life for pot?
Yeah, well, not for life. We have a very different sentencing regime than you guys do. Your sentencing regime is insane to us. Like, we don't have life without parole. Doesn't exist here.
It shouldn't.
Okay.
No, it should not. I agree. I'm not 100%. We
Yeah.
don't have that here. You don't ever go to jail without any possibility for parole. Now, there's certain people that, based on their circumstances, they will never get parole, practically speaking, but it's still available to them. They can still continually apply for parole. So we have a different system here. We have a very different sentencing regime for drugs. We don't have people serving 75 years, 95 years. You know, you guys have people serving 125 years. Like, we don't have anything close to that. So I think I've encountered, you know, in legal research, 1 or 2 cases where someone has been sentenced to life with parole for a drug-related offense, but they're few and far between, and it's trafficking like ridiculous amounts with a record for trafficking ridiculous amounts. So even someone who's, for example, moving, you know, fentanyl at the kilo level, a high range sentence is something in the range of 18 to 20 years. That's a really high sentence for us. If they talk about 18 to 20 years for drugs, you're like astonished. So we just don't have sentences where we're seeing 75 years, 85 years, like the way that you guys do.
Yeah, we have women in prison that I was with for 33 years, 35 years just for drugs. Non-violence. Yeah, that's like football numbers, they say.
So the most stringent sentence in Canada is life with no parole for 25 years. That's what we give people convicted of first-degree murder.
Okay.
Wow.
Life 25. And the time starts upon arrest. So even if you're convicted of the most serious crime in Canada, 25 years from the date of your arrest, you're allowed to apply for parole.
What a difference.
Yeah.
Right? Huge difference. We also don't have a prison system that's privatized.
Oh,
Yeah. So we have a very different system here in some ways. Doesn't necessarily make it better. We have a lot of the same issues. There's still a lack of rehabilitation. There's still no real attempt at having people acclimatize themselves after prison. We don't have that. Like, reintegration doesn't exist in our system. I think is kin to yours. I don't think you guys have true reintegration programs either. It's a halfway house and then you're thrown out into the world.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you about what would you say to people that are listening, that are watching, that maybe have just gotten out of prison or have gone through some of the same things that you have, or that are like 5 years sober, or, you know, they have a lot of barriers to success, or maybe they have a little, you know, spark in their heart, like, I wish I could do that, but I don't think I could. What steps would you have them, or would you recommend them take to
great suggestions.
Just to get to a level of like, step up into your greatness?
So the first thing that I try to, and I mentor a lot of young people, especially women that are coming off the streets. The word barrier, the word baggage, disadvantage, you got to get that out.
Flip it. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to stop thinking about your experience as a disadvantage. That, for me, when I flipped that switch, which was in my second year of law school, when I realized that my experiences were not a disadvantage, and in fact, they gave me an edge over my colleagues.
Yes.
And I didn't discover that until I was sitting in a class and I had a series of colleagues talk about a particular fact situation, how they would handle it. And they started talking about how they would address the problem without referencing the person, which is, you know, the client, the accused. And it's like, wait a second, you're solving a problem without referencing the person. You can't divorce the two and successfully solve the problem, because the problem is someone else's problem. So if you're taking it out of their situation, and so I'm thinking about this because I think about everything in terms of like, what if that was me, right? What if I was the person charged? What if I had just been arrested? What if I went through that? What would I want to have happen? And I can only think that way because of my life experience, right? That's not how most people and most lawyers think, because they're so far removed from that world, they can't see themselves in it. And so when I was listening to this, I thought, oh shit, maybe everything I went through isn't actually a disadvantage, because when I'm out there practicing, and I'm practicing from the point of view of a client-centered practice, it's going to give me an advantage, right? Clients are going to be able to relate to me better than, this private school educated elite that grew up with, mom and dad is lawyer, doctor, right? For example, because when I entered law school, I thought I was a disadvantage because I didn't have that. I thought that my experience as a street kid was going to be a barrier. I thought I was going to have to overcome that in order to be even close to as successful as my colleagues. And so when I realized that I can pull transferable skills from those experiences and use those skills to my advantage, changed everything. That changed the game for me. And so it's something that I talk about a lot, transferable skills. I actually just put together a series of videos for Instagram where I'm talking about the transferable skills I take from the streets and use in the courtroom to be successful. Because I think that people have to do that. And so anyone looking to make those changes, whether it's from street life, active addiction, the prison system, whatever your situation is, there are transferable skills that you get to pull and take with you to that new life that you're creating, whatever it may be. It's just a question of finding out or figuring out what those skills are and using them. A huge advantage for me. Everyone asks me how it is that I can do back-to-back murder trials and I don't flinch and it doesn't really affect me. I have this unbelievable ability to compartmentalize. And I had to do that as a matter of survival in order to be able to function. So if I had to use that on a survival level, surely those skills can now be put to work in order to further my life in this regard. So, that's one of many transferable skills that I think a lot of women have to have in order to be able to survive. So if you could do that, you use that in whatever venture you're looking at next.
I love that. I love that.
There's
Transferable
so much in
skills.
what you just said.
I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm going to steal that.
That's the whole point.
It is.
The whole point of sharing
That's
it.
right.
I want it to be known. Like, we have to be able to figure out transferable skills, pull them out and use them so that you no longer think about your experience as a disadvantage, as baggage you're carrying around. I always call it tools.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I don't have baggage. I got a toolbox that you don't have access to.
Yeah.
That's
You're
right.
like, have you seen this tool? I bet you don't have it.
I
I got 4 of them. Yeah.
It's true.
Right?
It's true. I love that, the transferable skills, and I love the throwing away of some certain adjectives.
Yeah.
Shame or blame or, getting rid of these adjectives and, or things that what I cannot do. To be able to flip the script and give yourself new internal dialogue, I think is so important. It's so important to feed our brains and our hearts and our heads with positive things. I always say struggle is optional.
Yeah, it's true. And women are badass. I mean, you would have asked me a long time ago, I wouldn't have thought that, but they are, we really are.
We are,
And so we have this whole body of ways we survive, maneuver, all the things in the world. And if we are under, like we said, addiction or domestic violence, all the things, homelessness, there's a whole bunch of skills that we're honing, but then, the opposite of that, flip the script, and it's really can be like your superpower. That's going to, for entrepreneurship and sales, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, there's really, I love that about the barrier. So it's really, it's, one way to look at it is not really having it as a barrier. That's just your extra little tool in your toolbox.
Things don't happen to us.
Yeah, we don't have barriers.
No.
Well, what do you say?
They don't exist.
Well, then what do you say, which I agree, but what do you say to the people that say when we get out of prison, reentry, there's 40,000 barriers? Because I always run the line between having this attitude of like, oh yeah, you say we can't do that. Well, I'm going to grab my friend Gina, we're going to do that, versus those that say there are barriers to getting a license, to getting a job. So what would you say to them?
You just have to use the same creativity and ingenuity that got you into prison in the first place.
Yeah, that's so true.
Right? Like, I'm sorry, you're on the street, you're creative. You have to be creative. You have to be crafty. So the fact that 10 people close the door on you because they don't want to hire an ex-con, okay, go talk to the 11th, the 12th, the 13th. Like, if you're going to pursue a job anywhere near as diligently as you pursued crack, you're going to find a job.
That's
You will
right.
find a job
right.
You will
tonight.
find a way to get that job. Right?
Amen,
Yeah.
sister.
You can't walk out of jail and think it's going to be handed to you.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you have to work harder than the person who just walked out of mommy and daddy's house and into their, BMW and drove to the nearest location that they wanted to work at? Probably, yeah. So what? So what?
cares?
You still have those transferable skills to be able to land that job, even if you have to ask more people for it, even if you have to change the nature of the job that you're looking for, right? So if you're not yet qualified for the job you want, okay, find a job that will get you qualified for the job you want.
Yeah, that's what we always say. Get a get well job for a minute while you're getting well,
Yeah.
and while you're getting other education or whatever you need to get the job that you want, the job that you can work towards. I love
That's
that.
it. People don't want, you don't want a minimum wage job. Unfortunately, you need a minimum wage job to get the experience you need to get the job that you want.
That's right.
So I think it's just a question of putting in that legwork in order to get what you really want.
Well, a lot of times too in prison, they really continue to spread the message, the people that work there and other people that are inside, to say you won't be able to, and then fill in the blank. You won't be able to get a job. You won't be able to this. I always talk about the prison that I was at. I opened up the reentry resources for Oregon, and it was blank. There was not even one piece of paper in there. So I thought, dang, I'm going to switch over to Idaho. Maybe Idaho's like Oregon, But so that's the message that you're always getting. So, if you have a family that's not supportive, or you don't really have a family, that's the message that you're getting. So it takes people like you, it takes people that are doing the work to say, yes, you can. Come on, let's go. I'll show you how. And that's what you're doing. You're not just telling them to do it. You're saying, I'll show you how. Here's how I did it.
Absolutely.
Which is
it's
great.
Slow and steady. It didn't come easy. It doesn't come quick. You have to work for it. And maybe you have to work longer and harder. But I think, one of the things that those of us who have encountered some sort of struggle in our life have is, this lack of fear. And a lot of people in the world are scared to try something, are scared to fail. We had to endure so many frightening situations and just plow through them. That's so important to take with. It's something that I certainly cherish every day. At the one hand, I'm scared to ever fall back to what I was, and that keeps pushing me forward. But I also don't feel fear the same. So I can walk into situations that are a risk and not have it affect me negatively.
Because of the things that you've already been through. You're like, if I could do that.
Nothing's going to be as scary as being, a 17-year-old girl on the streets of Toronto. Nothing will ever be as frightening as that.
Right.
So nothing's ever going to hurt me the way that life did. So there's nothing that I can encounter in my life today that's going to affect me the way that did. So if I endured that and I not only survived, I thrived out there. If I figured out a way to thrive out there, there's no atmosphere you can put me in that I'm going to be stuck in.
I'm just picturing the prosecutors that come to the courtroom and see you. They're like, shit. Oh, man. Can you picture that?
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
they're probably like, dang, okay, fine, give up. You're out. That's awesome. Wow.
And I heard you earlier say that you did some posts on social media to help people with suggestions and get past things and go through things. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about social media. Chris, you brought up how it can be toxic and it can be very, very.
It's been really great for me.
Yeah, yeah. And I know it has. I mean, here we are right now, right? And I just think that I encourage people like you and Chris to keep doing the good work, man, because people need to know what's going on and get out of their little cubbies and go out in the world and see how people live. because shared experiences are what you and Chris have going on.
Well, it's like the tribe, it's like once you've been through the stuff, even though we haven't been through the same exact things, but we understand. And so it's like once we go through it, so when we see someone else, a part of our tribe, we just connect. And that's what happens on social media. I think we all connect, but then those of us on it are also looking back to the one just coming and saying, come on, let me show you her. Let me show you this, because we're made to be connected and not do all this stuff on our own. And it's great. Like once you're in it and you're able to use your voice, like you said, and push past any of the perceived shame. A lot of times, I remember when I first met you, it was 5 years ago, and I was like, just coming out of prison and not really sure what the hell I was going to do with my life. And now when I see him, like, God, it's been, that growth is so good. Surrounding myself, making a point to surround myself with people who are ahead of me. So I can say, I'm watching you. I want to do that. And then bringing up others. So I love that part so much. So we have just a few minutes.
Okay.
Was
Here
there
we
anything
go.
else you wanted to say?
Well,
real quick?
You are badass.
Yeah, she is.
And I love who you are, where you're going.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Chris brought me here, and maybe I'll get a chance to join you again. Who
Yes, for
knows?
sure.
Who
Yeah,
knows?
I'm thinking I always say this, but we want to do like a conference to be like, you don't. Well, I'm not going to give the secret away, but we want to do a conference of people like you that are doing great work somewhere around the country. So we'll keep you posted.
Yes.
Let me know. Let me know.
Yeah, for sure.
So important.
Because we try to fit, I'll say me, you try to fit into like in college, or do I say where I've been, and, you're trying to get a seat at the table. My friend's like, what, we're building our own damn table.
That's right.
Scoot over.
Yeah.
We're
Bring
gonna
your
build our
chair.
table.
I brought my chair.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I love it.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to do a speed round real quick, just for a couple minutes, so you can ask whatever questions you want. It's just
boy.
like one word answer, some for fun.
This is going to be good. This is good. What is the first thing you think about in the morning?
My day.
Very good. Very good. What makes you smile?
Jet skiing.
Ooh.
Oh, nice. Salty or sweet?
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Always love that. Well, I think I might know that one. Okay. Cat, dog, or not an animal person?
Dog.
Yes.
I thought so. I had a feeling.
Mountains or beach?
Beach.
Okay, okay. Okay, this is a good one. I bet you. Are you a morning person or a night person?
Morning now.
Now,
Yeah.
because you have to get to court early?
No, I naturally wake up early and it's quiet. Nobody bothers me. It's my time. Mornings are my time now.
Yes, yes. I think we're the same.
Yeah, I'm trying to get back to the morning person. I'm still in between, but yeah.
Oh, I love mornings. I love mornings.
Love it.
So what, this is good. Tell us your hidden talent.
Hidden talents.
Yes. We want to know all of your secrets.
What no one would know? I mean,
Well,
Or
yeah,
not
you
that
feel
many,
comfortable.
just a hidden talent.
Yeah.
See how transparent? She doesn't have anything hidden. Everyone knows.
Oh, I love that.
Is there anything?
I don't know that I have a hidden talent. I mean, writing, I guess. I'm really good at writing and I don't often do it. So I guess if anything, it would be writing. Just trying to think what's hidden. Most of my talents and my
It's all out there.
It's out there.
That's
It's out
great.
That's
But on the
good.
writing
Open
thing,
book.
you're going to be writing a memoir, aren't you?
I am. I'm putting the finishing touches on it now.
Ooh, okay. Make sure you let
Look
us know.
forward
so we can-
to-
I will.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
look
awesome.
forward to seeing that. Okay, this is a good one.
What?
If you were running for office, what would your campaign slogan be?
I think I know.
Oh, who judges the judge?
Who judges the judge? Yeah,
There
I
you
love
go.
that.
There you go.
Oh, one last thing. Let's ask this one.
Oh, okay. All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how cool are you?
Obviously, a tad.
Woo! That's what we thought.
The only
Awesome.
answer. The only
Yeah,
answer,
we
right?
knew that
Right?
for sure. I just had to make sure. Okay, good.
I love that. I love that. It has been
That's
an
awesome.
honor.
That's awesome. I love that you guys do this. Honestly, it's such important work.
Yes.
All of us to be able to bring people together to share different experiences with a common goal and a common theme is honestly, it's phenomenal. So thank you guys for putting this on.
Thank you for being here, and
Thanks,
thanks, Gina,
Chris.
for being here, for Allison. And we'll be in touch. We'll let everybody know when your memoir's out, and we'll
Yes.
put some stuff in the show notes and with your TED Talk and all that. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye,
Enjoy your night.
Joanna. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.